Most of the books that I buy are Black owned books, and I get them from Black owned bookstores, so this video was inevitable. Hey y'all, if you're new here, my name is BB Queen, and today I'm gonna be doing a book recap of all the Black owned books that I read in October. I recently got back into reading. I'm trying to hit my reading goal of 52 books this year, so I went to a ton of Black owned bookstores here in LA and read a bunch. So I'm gonna rate them in this video 1 through 5, and I'm gonna tell you why I give them those ratings. Some of these are really popular, some of them not so much, but let's just get right on into it. Let's start with the YA. So I picked up One True Loves. This one is a book about a girl who just graduated high school and is trying to figure out what she's going to study and major in college in NYC. So she goes on a Mediterranean cruise with her family during the summer, and she meets this really cute guy while on this cruise. So this was a really cute novel. As a traveler, I really love stories like this because you don't really hear a lot about Black people traveling, and I love that this was like incorporated in a book. Even the cover is super cute, and there's details of what happens in the story on her suitcase, so I love the cover for this as well. This book I gave a 3.5. It was such a cute story. I really enjoyed this a lot, and the reason why is because some of the places that they visit on the Mediterranean cruise I've actually visited myself, so I knew where they were and I could envision myself there because I've actually been there. So that was really cool. Although I've never been on a Mediterranean cruise, I've also been on cruises. So I've related to this book a lot more than I thought I would, especially for it being a YA novel. I do read a lot of adult books, but I have been picking up some YAs here and there. So I really like this one, and I'm considering getting Lise Bryant's other books. She has a few other novels. This one was really good, especially because I really love traveling. The next YA we're gonna talk about is The Shadow Sister. So I got this from Barnes & Noble a few weeks ago, and I love mysteries. Mysteries are my #1 genre. The one thing about mysteries in Black literature is that I refuse to read any trauma-based or any police brutality fiction stories because it just is too close to home. Like, I don't want to read that. I want to read books that I can enjoy and won't really be as heavy. I do read those stories when it comes to nonfiction, but for fiction, I want to keep it light. So this one was really fun because it's about a girl whose sister went missing, and her sister returns, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister, even though her sister has absolutely zero memory of what happened to her while she was missing. So this was a really great story. I enjoyed it a lot. I give this a 4.5. So I really loved it. This was like a really good page turner, and it has an interesting twist at the end that I didn't really see coming. I actually looked up Lily Mead's other books because of this, and I will be getting some more in a future book haul, so stay tuned to see that one. But her writing style like keeps you in a chokehold. It was so good. I really enjoyed this a lot, and I actually got a hardcover too, which I rarely ever get hardcovers, but I'm really happy that I picked this one up, and I will be reading way more of Lily Mead's books. So next YA novel is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. This is by Karen Bayron. So this is technically a fantasy, and I don't normally read fantasies at all, but it had a Black girl on the cover, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try, and I'm really happy that I did. It was a very interesting story. So it is about a girl who runs this scary simulator, almost like an escape room, but it's supposed to recreate the vibe of a really popular scary movie, like horror movie. She's the manager, and some of her coworkers start to go missing, and her friends are trying to figure out where these people are going and what actually happened to her fellow coworkers. This one, the end really caught me for a loop. Like, I did not see it coming at all. I ended up giving it a 4 because I was really surprised that I liked a fantasy novel. Like I said, I normally don't read fantasies. Fantasies take a long time to get started because they have to like create the story and the characters, and I don't know, I just feel like you get a lot more setting descriptions and character descriptions before you actually get into the story, but this one jumped right to it, which I absolutely loved. I would actually be interested in reading more Black author fantasies as long as they're within this page range. I don't like the books that are like 500 pages. I'm not gonna do it. I will give you a solid 300 pages, you know, 300 to 350, but once you know, hit 500, I am not gonna even touch the book. This one was pretty short. I think it was 230 pages, and it really got the job done. So I like this a lot, and I would definitely recommend this to you guys. Okay, so now moving on to the adult fiction novels. Most of these are romances, and I don't know why, but I've been to a lot of romances lately. So the first one I read is The Referral Program, and this is about a group of 30-something-year-old women who want to be in relationships, in long-term committed relationships. So they come up with this idea that they are going to refer their friends to each other to go on dates. Kind of like setting up blind dates for each other. They make up rules for this referral program, and really they're on a mission to find their husbands. And this is not really a book I would typically pick up because I'm not all that into romance. Like I said, I'm also like not one of those girls that's like eager to get married. So I was like, this is interesting, let me try it out. And I'm actually really happy that I did. So I gave this book a 3.5. I could honestly give it a 3.75 because it did have a lot of really funny parts in it. The only reason why it wasn't a 4 is because there's so many characters. There's so many characters from who they meet and who they go on dates with. So there's 3 main women and they all go on several dates. So you have to like keep track of the names and everyone's character and everyone's personality traits and all the things that make them them. So I actually took notes while reading this because I had to figure out like who was who and who was matched with who previously. So that's the reason why I didn't get a 4, but I did think it had a lot of really great lessons, and it was really interesting for me to read a romance novel. And again, I typically don't read romances, so I was actually pretty surprised by it. Next is Black People Don't Ski. And this book I was really excited to read. So I actually am a Black person that does ski. I enjoy skiing and I talk about it here on YouTube, but I did not like this book. I didn't like it. I did not like it. This one is a self-published author, and I think I found it on TikTok. I'm not exactly sure how it ended up on my For You page, but I did order it because I was like, oh, this looks good, and I was very disappointed. The story is about a girl who recently broke up with her long-term boyfriend, and she goes on their vacation, which was originally planned at a ski resort, and at that ski resort she meets another man and who is an employee and a ski instructor. I think the plot of the story was there. I don't think it was properly executed, and I gave it a 1 because of that. I think there was so many unnecessary sex scenes that didn't actually push the plot forward or do anything for the plot at all. And at some points I actually skimmed over the sex scenes because I just didn't feel like it was necessary. The actual plot was rushed and there was a lot of like plot holes. So I was really disappointed by this. I wanted it to be better. I wanted it to just be a different story. Normally romance novels have 2 to 3 sex scenes, unless it's something like 50 Shades, which is more of like dark romance, but I expect this to be different and I just didn't like how it was. So yeah, this one got a 1 for me. I wouldn't recommend this. Next book I read is called Play to Win, and this one caught my eye in an independent bookstore, and it is about a woman who wins the lottery and she wants to get a divorce from her long estranged husband. So her and her husband have not been in contact for the last 8 years, and for her to be able to claim all of her money, she wants to make sure she has no legal ties to her husband. Her husband, on the other hand, wants to win her back. So this story is really, really interesting. I read this book in a little bit over a day, like a day and an hour. It was so good. The characters were really funny. That's one thing about reading Black authored books, is that you will always get a funny story, and I feel like I can relate to the characters and I can hear their voices and their tone of voice in my head as I'm reading. Like I will read in a way that I would hear like my grandma speak, or my like cousins talk, or any of my girlfriends talk. So this was a really funny story and very interesting too. I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I think this is definitely worth reading. I gave it a 3.5, and what's really interesting about this novel is that I've actually visited the location that it takes place in. So it's in South Carolina, and I have only been to South Carolina twice in my life, and I actually did go to their very small town and I was there for a few days, so I could relate to this a lot. This was a really interesting story, so I would definitely recommend this for your next read. Okay, and last but not least, I also read Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding, and this was absolutely hysterical. So I also bought this from an independent bookstore, and in short, it's about a reality TV show called Instantly I Do, where the contestants have to convince their families that they're getting married to this stranger in the next 6 weeks, and if they can pull it off, they win $100,000. Now the curveball is that one woman is looking to find her wife, her true love. The other woman is actually just using the show to come out to her family because she hasn't, and she's, you know, around her like mid-30s, so she's like, now is the time I need to do it. So this was a really funny story. I love this because I feel like I can relate to one of the characters, Chris, who is an influencer, and she talks about her experience as an influencer and like what her job entails. Also, the characters in this book are absolutely hilarious. I actually laughed a lot while reading this book. There are a few spicy scenes, which of course an adult romance novel wouldn't be a romance if it didn't have a little bit of spice. But I really like this. I gave this a 4, and I wish there was a part 2 because they talk about their season of the show, but I want to read a part 2 or a sequel where they're talking about the next season of the show. This show's premise is reminds me a lot of Love is Blind, so I kind of made that connection there too, but this was absolutely hysterical. That is my Black owned books October recap. I read a ton of Black authored books, so if you want to see another video like this, let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and let me know if you read these books before and what you think about them, if your ratings were the same as mine or you totally disagree with how I rated these books. But I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.